This is the Twin Cities Real Estate Investing Show. Real stories, real success in Twin Cities real estate. Join your hosts, Adam Tafel and Tim Swiercek, as they dive into the world of Twin Cities real estate investing. Together, they share valuable insights and practical tips to help both new and seasoned investors navigate the Minneapolis-St. Paul market. With a focus on relatable stories from real people, this show will empower you with the knowledge and confidence to thrive in your investing journey. Guys, take it from here.
What's going on, Tim?
Hey, buddy. How you doing?
I'm doing fine.
Awesome.
We just had lunch with Jordan Moorhead.
Yes, we did.
Good to see that guy again. Jordan Moorhead is the reason that Tim and I are friends, at least the reason why we met initially. And Jordan Moorhead really allowed me to skip, I'd say, 2 years of selling houses. Because of him, there isn't anyone else who's had a bigger impact on my professional life than Jordan. And
true.
I was able to start selling houses as if I had been doing it for a few years because he basically handed me his Minnesota client list. And, I'll always be very, very grateful for that.
Yeah, and whether they know it or not, the people who joined your team also benefited from that. I saw it. I don't know if they did, but I saw it from the background, Yeah. Because I know what it's like to start from true scratch without all that. And, yeah, he built a good infrastructure here in the Twin Cities between, obviously the client list, but he also had the Facebook group with us and some of the video marketing we had done and the meetups and all of that together. There was a community that you guys stepped into that didn't exist prior to, Jordan and I creating it. So.
Yeah. I mean, there were definitely some people in 2018, 2017 who were selling houses in the Twin Cities, focusing on investors, but now it's they're everywhere, right?
Yeah. And not only that, there wasn't the community. So there was the Millennial Investor Facebook group did start prior to us, but it hadn't blown up in a way that first of all, it didn't blow up with the meetups and stuff like that. They had, from my understanding, they had done a few in-person meetups, but they weren't open to the public. It was just kind of a small thing they had invited to, and we brought, and frankly, I hadn't known they existed at that point, right? Nor did Jordan or anything else. It wasn't big yet, I guess, is maybe a way to say it. And I was on meetup.com trying to look for meetups, and there was one. It was called the Bi-Weekly Bigger Pockets Meetup, and it was hosted by Dan Coleman, the former Gopher basketball player, investor in Uptown. Him and another Dan who was and there's some of the OGs were at that, but it was every other month. It was out in the western suburbs, I think it was Edina, if I remember, 50th and France area, and that was the meetup community prior to some of the stuff we started.
Yeah. So this episode, it's not a super Twin Cities focused episode. You're not going to get a lot of great Twin City deal analysis out of this one.
Correct.
But it's insight from one of the smartest real estate people that I know, and that should be good.
Yeah, and he started in the Twin Cities, and he helped a lot of Twin Cities investors, and then that expanded him to other areas.
Yeah, so but reach out to Jordan, even though he's no longer an agent here. He's got a lot of wisdom, and we want to support him. So here's Jordan Moorhead.
How you doing?
Dude, it's great to see you.
Yeah, good to see you too. Good to
see
both of you.
Yeah, so for those of you, you've probably heard this on the podcast, but the reason why I know Adam is through Jordan, and Jordan and I met off of Bigger Pockets, which pretty much everyone knows, right?
2016 maybe?
Yeah.
Yeah,
it probably was about 2016, yeah. It was when you first became a realtor.
That's when I got into real estate, and then I got into real estate in 2016 and got my license. Was working on getting it in 2017. So so probably 2016, 2017. I've been on Bigger Pockets since 2014, so maybe came across each other before then.
Yeah, I don't think I started much before 16. That's about the time.
That makes sense.
My wife found it too. I have to give her props because she was the one who found it and recommended it to me. Then I went on there and started messing around.
Great networking.
Yeah, exactly. It's changed. Personally, I don't think it's nearly the same as it was.
It's changed a lot. Yeah. I mean, it got sold twice. And
Oh,
just
twice?
different.
Because the Zillow people bought it, right?
I don't know who owns it now, but I know a private equity group bought it and then resold it. And that's when David exited.
Yep.
David Green left the podcast kind of right when because they wanted him to say certain things that he didn't want to say. So.
Yeah. Who can blame him? Plus, frankly, he had gotten everything he could get out of it. He wasn't going to, you know what I mean? It's actually better for him to be on his own now because he's got the audience, he's got the thing. So
I think it probably was an artistic freedom type of thing. I don't want to speak for him, but I know he likes to tell things the way he sees them, and I think that'd be hard to do with a bigger corporation over you.
It's funny because and he's kind of in the mortgage world a little bit, kind of, right? It's funny because a lot of the things, I haven't listened to him a ton, but when I listen to him and I almost always agree. Like I would be like, he says some things that are a little contrary and to most mortgage people, and I'm like, yeah, I 100% agree with him on most things. So anyway. But we should talk about Jordan and about the Twin Cities and about real estate, huh?
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, let's do it. I mean, Jordan, we'd like to start this show by just kind of detailing, like, where do you come from? What led you to think, well, maybe I'll be a real estate investor in the first place? And then maybe take us through your first couple deals.
Yeah, let's talk about the Minneapolis deals at least, and then we can talk a little broader about some other things.
And as many specifics when it comes to describing the details, like where in the neighborhood are you buying? Why did you like the deal? Kind of stuff like that. But take it away, man. What's your story?
So I moved to Minneapolis, St. Paul in 2010. I had been vaguely interested in real estate before that. And I have a business partner now that I remember talking about this with. We just always thought, hey, if we buy real estate, somebody else can pay off the mortgage, and in the end, we'll own the real estate. And that was the simplest thought we had was, we'll get tenants will pay off the mortgage, and eventually we'll own it. And that means we'll own assets. We understood assets to a point. We did not
the way you do now.
Not real well, but I mean, it just made sense. Hey, you buy something, somebody else pays for it. That makes sense,
Yeah.
Took me way too long to get started. I think I talked to a mortgage broker in 2014 about how to get my credit in order, because my credit was a 550.
Oh, sure.
And he said, well, you can't qualify here. You're going to have to do this, and that. I didn't have any credit, so I had to go buy a credit card at U.S. Bank.
Oh, yeah.
Gave them $300. They gave me a $300 line of credit.
Yeah.
And it shot up after that. So started paying stuff on time. I guess when I was younger, I got a phone bill. Didn't pay the phone bill on time. So I had no credit, and I had one bad mark on my credit, which made it really bad.
Yeah.
Easy to
exactly
fix,
how
though.
that happens.
Really easy to fix. And I think, we look at things in such short time periods of, it's going to take me a little, but it took me like 6 months to get it well above 600 just by paying that $300 line of credit. I put my Netflix bill on it.
Yeah.
And every month I would pay my Netflix bill off, and my credit shot up.
Yep.
So it took me a couple of years to buy my first duplex. Bought my first duplex in 2016 in Northeast Minneapolis.
And what are you doing for work at this time? Personal training, right?
Yeah, I was a personal trainer.
Okay.
And at the time I had a small business built around the personal training. I had 2 trainers working for me and admin. So I wasn't really doing all the training. I was doing a lot.
And you were getting good at social media, don't you think? I mean, it seemed like
I would
it.
say so. I think
I think that's what helped you start, was that.
Well, I just understood from the beginning, like, you have to market. That's actually what I was going to school for before I dropped out to be a trainer, was marketing. And I understood that you needed to get out there and people needed to find you in a way. And if you're just, I hate it when I hear somebody say, oh, I'm just all word of mouth. That just means you're missing out on so much else out there that people could find you and get the help that you have. So I knew we were good at training people. I would put simple videos out like, hey, here's how you do this exercise. It's just really educational content was always the outlook I took. Built a pretty good business there, but wanted to start investing in real estate, and it had to kind of finagle the way I wrote off things so I didn't write off too much to get. Because I remember I went to get qualified to buy my first house. And Tim, this is something you'll probably resonate with. I got qualified with a lender. She just didn't understand duplexes. And I ended up having to find another lender that did.
I've gotten a lot of deals because of that. Yeah.
Yeah. She just completely messed it up. And she's a good person, but she didn't get it.
Just doesn't. Yeah.
She didn't get it at the time.
Let's call her out. Who is this woman?
No, she's a good girl. So I went and I said, how much can I get qualified for? And she didn't understand duplexes. She qualified me for $170,000 for single family house.
Yeah.
I said, I can't buy anything there. And, I really thought, and I learned a little bit and understood I could use the rent from the other unit. And I switched lenders and I was qualified for $240,000 immediately. So I could not have bought a house if I was using the single family qualification, not in any area I wanted to live in.
That exact same thing happened to me where I was qualified for like 180. And so my agent didn't tell me either. And so I'm out there looking at duplexes under 180. And this is in 2015.
Terrible.
And they're so terrible. Now, wish I would have bought them all now. But yeah, brutal.
Yeah, I think that happens most commonly at credit unions. I find that's really common. Like credit unions will be like, oh, yep, we don't count the rent.
Yeah. They make up their own rules that don't make any sense.
Yeah.
And I think that's why you really want to use a mortgage broker like you, Tim, is like the credit union, they have these, I dealt with this exact problem selling one in St. Paul. They made up their own rules that really just made the deal a pain.
Yeah. And then they'll be like, oh, it has to be 10% down or 15 or 20. You probably heard that, right? Like, you're like, they just, I do them all day long at 3 or 3.5 or 5. Yeah.
The problem this person specifically put us in is they said, well, no tenants can live in the property when this person buys it. You can't have anybody in there renting. I said, that's not the rule. You actually helped me look up the Fannie Mae guideline.
Yeah.
And I gave it to them. They said, well, that's not our rule. So they made their own rules that made it much more strict and really made it detrimental to the buyer because they had no income when they moved in, which you think would make the loan safer because you have extra income coming in from the other side.
It absolutely makes the loan safer. Yeah.
Why would you not want that? But so I got back to, I guess, my story. I got started, bought my first duplex in 2016. There was not an easy time finding it, even at that point in time. I remember I probably looked at 60 or 80 properties. I was not a realtor at the time.
Shout out to your realtor.
Dragged him all over town.
Grigori.
Yeah, he was part-time realtor, so it was like...
Well, full-time with you as a client.
We had to go when I had time, breaks from my personal training schedule, which is like 8 to 10 in the morning. Terrible time to go look at houses.
Yeah.
Or early afternoon, which he didn't have time. So we were going in the morning. So we would go from 8 to 10 in the morning. We'd go look at a couple duplexes, put in lots of offers, finally put in an offer, didn't work out. And to his credit, I believe I'd even moved on from using him as a realtor at this point in time, which was silly. I didn't have a good reason. But this guy came back on this duplex in Northeast Minneapolis and said, hey, we're interested in talking about your offer, which commonly happens when somebody's sitting on the market and they're trying to play hardball and you put in an offer that's a little lower than they want. They were listed at $230 when I put in the offer. I want to say it was $190. Then they dropped to $210. They still weren't selling.
Northeast Minneapolis?
Grand Avenue or Grand Street. I think Grand Street.
Yep.
In Northeast Minneapolis. The reason they weren't selling wasn't necessarily because the duplex was in bad shape, and it was, but the tenants were hostile.
Oh, yeah, when someone went to look at it?
Yeah, so the tenants would not let you in.
We should actually, let's table that. Let's talk about that topic a little more because you sold one of my properties and we had a little bit of that. So we should talk about tenants and selling.
Which one?
Later.
Yeah, okay.
1004, 18
sure.
and a half. Yeah, later. I mean, keep going.
Yeah. But yeah, no, what worked to our benefit was we were going so early in the morning. The aggressive tenants were not awake yet. So the younger guys who were mean and aggressive towards anybody that came and tried to see the house, didn't want to move, that type of stuff, weren't awake yet. And the grandmother they were living with was this nice old lady, and she let us in, kind of showed us around, and it was a dump. But even at that point in time, I realized the things that were wrecked in that house were super easy to fix, like carpet, paint, lights, that kind of stuff. I said, this can't be that expensive. And, we got some quotes for some people to fix up the bare minimum we needed to move in. It was like $3,000, which I didn't have at the time. So, and I took a loan against my IRA that I had.
Okay, yep.
To put the down payment down on the property. I got the seller to cover all the closing costs. And then once I closed, I went and I got a loan for $3,000 to do the paint and the carpet so I could just move in. It was that rough. The flooring, and I know you've seen a bunch of these, where people had been walking, had been completely worn away.
Yeah.
The carpet was so old that there was trails through the house where people just walked, not like dirt trails or whatever, just the carpet had worn away down to the netting. And the windows, all the screens had holes in them for where people were ashing out of the screens.
Well, yeah, you burn the hole, you create your own hole.
There was stuff all over the walls. I mean, it was gross, but carpet, paint, lights, it felt like a new place. There was a lot of other work to be done, but at least the common areas in the bedrooms were livable with just $3,000.
Yeah.
So we took a place that was a dump, put $3,000 in, and it was nice. And then over time, I was saving so much money. I was actually making $500 a month to live
Yeah,
there.
you need to tell people your rental situation, how you did
Well,
that.
and real quick, how did you get the tenants out? Were they
It was, you have to be out by closing was the part of the offer. Like, you got to go.
got it?
And I know that's not always possible, but in this case, we asked and they did it. I think they probably were fed up with the tenants and just wanted an excuse to give them the boot. So they'd made their life so difficult trying to sell this place. So we got the tenants out by closing. You know, within a week or so of closing, we had the carpet ripped out, paint done, lights, that kind of stuff. And then we moved in, but the common areas were pretty good. The kitchen and the bathroom were still wrecked. And we had, as part of the inspections, had the leaks and the major issues in the kitchen and bathroom fixed. So it was workable.
But it wasn't a glorious place.
No.
Right? Yeah, because I was there at your meetup.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was not glorious at all. I mean, I was so used to just living in whatever at that point in time that it didn't bother me. And I think you got to get there too. We had to lift the bathroom door up and pull it in to get it to shut.
Yeah.
So the hinge, the top hinge was broken or off or gone. I can't remember what happened. And it just, the door wouldn't shut. And there's simple stuff. Like, I could have gotten a lot of these bigger issues fixed, like the hinge coming off. I replaced the microwave myself. So I pulled off the hood and put a new microwave up. But it took me too long to do it. I should have just done it right away. One of the biggest lessons I learned was just to do the big stuff right away so you can enjoy the property while you live in it. And it doesn't mean that you do everything right away, but the stuff that's not that expensive to do or makes the biggest difference, you know, maybe the kitchen, maybe the bathroom. And I learned that even with the kitchen and the bathroom. I spent maybe a total of $10,000 fixing up the kitchen and the bathroom. I should have done that a little earlier rather than live in a place that was falling apart for a year until I had them. And I didn't really have the money that quickly, but I did pretty quickly after moving in. Again, I borrowed everything except a small amount of the down payment to buy this place.
You mentioned the $3,000. Do you even remember what it cost you to borrow $3,000 at that time? Like monthly?
It was borrowed from my parents. So it was like an interest-free loan. I paid them back pretty quick. But,
okay.
So I borrowed the $3,000 to fix it up, the minor fix up, carpet and paint. And I borrowed a couple grand from my IRA, which I believe you can do penalty free for.
Yeah. Well, borrow, you can
residence.
absolutely do it penalty free. You can also withdraw up to $10,000 for the purchase of a home. And that is penalty free, but not tax free, meaning that whatever your tax rate is, you have to pay on it.
Yeah. So it wasn't a big deal to take a couple. And I only needed a couple grand out of it. So my down payment was $7,500, something like that. And I had about 4 of it. So I pulled 3 or 4 grand out of the IRA. And that was my down payment for the place. Then I got him to cover the closing costs. Then I borrowed the fix-up money. When I was living in there, I was making $500 a month and I had no housing expense. So I was essentially net about $1,500 a month extra from what I had been. So I was saving.
Are you renting out rooms to your buddies? Is that how you pull that off?
Absolutely. So I had the top unit fully rented almost immediately from moving in. It was actually in perfect shape. So I just put it up for rent. I started interviewing tenants. The downstairs unit, I moved in. My realtor was my first tenant in his room. I gave him a sweetheart deal.
This is why you do this shit in your early 20s too.
Yeah.
You know, because you're already living in a bind. Like, you're used to that in general, college or whatever. Your standards are so low, and you have so many friends, so many people you know that are down for a cheap room. How old are you at this point?
I was 27.
Okay.
So again, I think I waited too long because I had the ability to do this a few years earlier. And at that point in time, the market was so much better. It would have been easier. I could have bought more, XYZ, whatever. I got started when I could. So I moved in a roommate into one room. After a few months, and I had made a little money, we figured out that the patio in the back or the porch was big enough that we could fit a twin bed in there. So we crammed a twin bed in there. There was like a room for a nightstand next to it, and that was it. Put a wall heater on, electric wall heater, and then put another heater in there just for extra. And again, this is Minneapolis, so it wasn't well insulated, but it was enough to keep it warm. We started renting it out on Airbnb. Quickly realized that the average Airbnb guests hated it. So I was like, what can I do to get the person I'm looking for in here? And we did week plus instead of at a really low rate. And we're just brutally honest about what it was, put all the pictures out there. It looked attractive, but it wasn't great. Had a nice TV, had a like a stand-up dresser.
And you're renting a room, which a lot of people don't always get right away. Like, you're not renting a place, you're renting a room.
No, it was a small room.
Yeah.
But it was attracting people that were coming for school or work and didn't have a lot of money. And they were cool people. Like, we had a guy from Germany, we had a guy from Vietnam.
I remember all of this when it was happening.
Music producer.
Me too. Well, I guess I don't know the people, but I remember talking about it.
Yeah. Mostly cool people. Like the people, because it's cheap. You're there for a week plus, so you're probably kind of settling in. We just had cool people hang out. Like, someone would hang out with us. I think we took the German guy out once or twice with us at night. He was a character. But it was fun, and I was making $500 a month to live there. So really enjoyed all of that. While I was there, again, I went from not having any savings I was making decent money, but just all seemed to evaporate. But I got good at saving while I owned that place, and I was making extra money from the place. So within 6 months, I saved up $50,000. So like, think about this. I didn't even have enough money to put down a $7,500 down payment and then have a little bit of money left over to fix up the place. Within 6 months, I rearranged things and was making more, where I saved up 50, bought my first sixplex 6 months after I bought that property. So I went from no units to 8 units in about a year.
My experience is very similar, where like I've told my story a million times. I never had like a savings account. My net worth was probably like negative $7,000 for like most of my 20s. Mm-hmm. But like once I got my living expenses covered and I started to save money, it just a switch flipped in me, and I became motivated. And doing those like transfers became addicting. They were your
dopamine hit?
Completely. And similar to you, I don't know if I saved $50,000 in 6 months, but yeah, it just like totally changed my world. Once all my money, I could save 80% of my income. Like, why not? You know?
I think you get, and people say this and you think this is crazy. Nobody's ever it doesn't work this way. Once you take that money right away off your paycheck or whatever commission check you've made and put it in a savings account, you spend the rest the same as you would have spent the whole amount. So it's just this weird phenomenon. And Profit First is a great book to talk about all this stuff, but you just take this money right away and put it in a savings account. And I did that really well for a few years. Then I became an agent and started making commission checks. It's a different type of income, where my income from personal training, everybody was kind of on a monthly pay.
Yeah, it was stable.
It was stable. It was pretty stable.
Pretty stable, yeah.
And I would save X amount out of that. I had it automatically set up where U.S. Bank would transfer this many $1,000 into my savings account every month from my checking account. Then when I got commission checks, it was much more lumpy. And sometimes it was great, sometimes it wasn't. But I didn't have a system from like 2018 to, probably even 2020. And I was still saving money. But I remember I made really good money as an agent one year.
Yeah.
And I owed a big tax bill at the end of the year. I'm like, where's the money for this? Because I know I'd made significantly more than this money. But I didn't have any money sitting in the bank account to pay that tax bill. I didn't have a system. I'd lost my system. So I changed that. I now use like an elementary Profit First. I just take a percentage out of everything and put it in a savings.
Every time you get a commission
every time
check.
I get anything. not just commission check. Every time I get anything that's income,
It just
Take
take
it.
a percentage out. Yeah.
So were you experiencing like some lifestyle creep at that point, being a busy agent, or how do you?
Not really.
Well, how do you?
I was with you.
How do you explain not having money? Or you're just investing in real estate so aggressively. It's one of the two.
so it wasn't investing in real estate. It was mostly investing in education, which can be expensive. And I think rather than being focused on what I was trying to learn, I was just learning everything. I was flying all over all the time. I was going to every conference that I could get to, every event I could get to. And it was valuable, but I was going to multifamily events. I was going just to general real estate events.
Yeah, we went to that one in Colorado, the best ever conference.
best
Remember
ever.
That
Great
was expensive, but
Great stuff. But yeah, I was spending tons of money on that kind of stuff. And I'm not discouraging people from doing that, but I would just say have a path or have a goal. I'm trying to learn about multifamily or office or retail and go to those events, but don't just go to every event. I spent just a ton of money willy-nilly. And it honestly slowed down my real estate investing for a point because I was spending money on everything rather than having a system to set money aside when I made it and build it up and invest in real estate. I just always think about what if I would have had the same systems and process. Everybody, if you knew everything you did now, it'd be different, but I don't regret it necessarily. It was good times.
Well, universally, everybody wishes that they started sooner
Sure.
and they bought more.
Yep.
Everybody who sits in that chair, or
Yeah.
we've interviewed every investor I talked to, and then the other common is like, oh, why did I sell that place? So freaking common. So I don't know. I think we all need to go easy on ourselves because it seems to me, based on having this conversation with so many people, that people with our types of brain have kind of like an insatiable taste for or thirst for more when it comes to their investing.
I don't have the sell regret. I don't regret anything I've ever sold. And we sold it.
That's good.
I think that
Tim and I do.
if you get caught up in that, oh, that place could have been worth X, but if you repurpose the money properly, you're going to increase the velocity of money there. So you got to
yeah,
look
and that's
at
what I got into, but then I screwed it up because I didn't do it properly.
Sure, and that's hard, because you're usually venturing into something you don't know or understand as well.
I got caught up like a lot of people in the scale mentality, right?
Yeah. I think
Instead of the better mentality, I had it right early on and kind of strayed a little, I would say.
And I don't think there's anything wrong with just sticking to one thing and growing a portfolio systematically. So buying duplexes in an area you know or understand well, or single families in an area you know or understand well. I think what happens is people get bored and think there's got to be a greener pasture out there. And rather than picking one thing and sticking to it, it just gets difficult. And
I think so.
You get too spread thin, and maybe you're not the expert anymore, and stuff gets tricky.
Right. Like, let's talk a little bit. I mean, and this is a Minnesota show, but your Minnesota real estate turned into Louisville real estate. So let's talk a little bit about how that happened, how you leveraged it and got into that. And because you didn't stay in that forever, I think that actually leads in. I mean, it's a good segue into that part of it, right?
Well,
because you only kept it for a little while, right? But it built you.
So I 1031 my first duplex in Minnesota and did 2 more sixplexes on that same street where I had those 3. And I thought I was going to own the street. And I was like, oh, this is going to be awesome.
I remember.
Have all these.
And this is in Minneapolis.
This is in Louisville, Kentucky. Yep.
Got it. My bad. Oh, so the second place that you bought was in Kentucky.
Yep.
The sixplex.
Yep.
And I lucked out. My dad was a very active realtor there at the time. So this was, man, what was that?
Almost 2017, I think.
Yeah. In 2017, it was a while ago.
Because
he's 72 now, and he was pretty active back then. He was finding properties for me, and I just said, hey, I'm interested in seeing some multifamily property in Louisville. And that was it. And he found some property for me. Mm-hmm. So I bought the first one. And then 2 more popped up. 1 more popped up on that same street. And we said, hey, do you have any more? Because I was going to have a pretty big 1031. So we got 2. And I thought, this is going to be great. I'm going to get all this cash flow. These properties are going to be awesome. They were Class C, small commercial multifamily, sixplexes. Complete nightmare to manage. I made a lot of money off them. I didn't make any money.
But it wasn't because of the it wasn't because of the
cash flow. It was the appreciation.
Yes, exactly.
Tell us about the numbers on one of those. Like, what attracted you to the deal and what surprised you about how it went down? So it was
like a 1.25% rule. So I said, there's no way this can go wrong. and I just severely underestimated the amount of money I needed for CapEx up front to get those big repairs done. So that was one of my best lessons ever, was like, plan ahead for the capital expense. Make sure you have enough money to fix these big issues so they don't bleed you dry over the long run. And we could talk about a deal I'm doing now, which I arranged differently, which I think will work out much better. Okay. But you just never know. But then I just didn't understand how much maintenance and how hard these things were going to be to manage.
And you say C. It was a C depending on, for Louisville it was a C, but it was a low C.
It was C minus for Louisville.
Right,
This is like where people move to get out of the ghetto.
Yes.
They're moving on up, but like to manage it is a mess. There's always somebody else staying there. And they were older buildings. They were like 1950s or 60s buildings, which isn't too old, but old enough to have a lot of infrastructure problems.
And I remember I visited the properties for you. I remember there being some issues in the alley, right? Like, because the neighbors are suspect a little bit and stuff like that, right? Like, it's
the problem that you have with any multifamily laden street where they're not all owned by one person. If I would have owned the whole street, there's 8 sixplexes, and that was my goal. I think my goal is too small. But if I would have owned the whole street, I would have been great. But if I would have just gone and bought a 40-unit building right away, I could have owned the whole area and controlled it. In this case, I couldn't control it because ended up I sold another one on that, or I found another one on that street, and my dad bought it. It was off market. So we had 4 of the 8 at one point in time, but the other 4 of the 8 were owned by 4 different owners. And they all had varying levels of upkeep to them, varying levels of how they screened the tenants they brought in. It was just a mess. Eventually, I sold it the exact right time, February of 2022. I had no idea rates were about to go up. I was just sick and tired of owning them. Because every year I would go there and I'd spend a bunch of money. I'd walk through all of them, make everything perfect, and every year they would destroy it. I said, finally, I did that one last time.
So that's where all your cash flow is going, to repairs because the tenants were so rough.
Sure. I was making good money. My gross income off these was like $14,000 or $15,000. It was really good.
But gross doesn't mean anything.
Yeah, and I paid $350 to $380 for the buildings. So when I'm making $4,000 to $5,000 per building, it looked like on the top line of the spreadsheet, it looked great. But I didn't account for the right stuff. I ended up doing a lot of CapEx over time. I replaced the windows. I replaced some commercial water heaters, which are expensive. They're $4,000 to $5,000. They're probably more now. And then it's just my money was gone. But I bought them for, let's call it like $1,050,000 all in. I sold them for like 1.28.
You're saying 2 of them for $1,050,000?
All 3. If you added all 3 together.
Got it. Okay.
At $1,050,000 all in. I sold them for right at 1.3. I had some other equity in there. And this is where my story, this is similar to Tim saying, you took something that was working well and you tried to go out and find something else. Rather than understanding that time wasn't my enemy and could have been my friend with how depreciation works, I said, I have to get rid of this money right away and put it into something. So I didn't 1031, but I put it to an opportunity zone fund that I didn't really understand.
Can you be more specific about what you just said? What would you do differently specifically regarding taking advantage of depreciation?
Yeah, I'll get into that too. But so I took half of the money. I took, frankly, around $200,000 and put it into an opportunity zone fund, which would have been great had it worked out the way it was supposed to. So an opportunity zone fund, if you hold the money in there for 10 years, it's tax-free, and anything you make off that is tax-free. So their plan was after 3 years, we're building a hotel. And I'm not going to mention names, but if we're building a hotel, we're going to refinance this hotel. We're going to give you 80% of your money back tax-free because it's a refinance. Yeah. And then we're going to hold the rest in it. You're going to get paid like you'd put your initial 100% capital in there for the next X number of years, 7 years. Then we're going to sell the hotel at the end of 10 years, and you're going to get another big chunk. I said, this is great. I'm not going to owe any taxes, which I would have owed a lot because I did 1031.
Yep.
And I'm going to get great returns. I didn't understand the deal. The partners had not done a deal like this before. It was just, frankly, it was destined to fail from the beginning. And a lot of it was my fault. I should have understood what I was investing in. That was where I went wrong. I didn't understand what I was investing in. It was 2022. Everybody was making money and everything, early 2022. And I said, how could this go wrong? These guys have made money in other stuff before. They're good guys.
They know their stuff, right? They just don't know this stuff, right?
Yeah, exactly. They know the stuff about some stuff, but there's so many red flags.
These guys know about stuff.
But what I should have done, and back to your question, Adam, about the understanding, I sold the properties in February of 2022. What that really meant was I had 10 months to find a property, and because I'm a real estate professional, do a cost segregation on it, and wipe out all of my gains.
I've done that a couple of times.
Yeah. I didn't understand that. All I did was sell this and say, I've got to put the money somewhere so I don't get killed on taxes. The other, more than half of the money, I invested in some single families we were buying at the time. We were doing burrs, but we almost never got all of our money back. We had to put a little money back in. I put most of this money back in stuff. Those did really, really well. And they kind of made up for my loss there. But if I would have put that money to work somewhere else, I could have had 10 months. I was struggling to find a building to buy. I wanted to buy like a 40 unit or something. Because I had almost $500,000 to do it with.
Sure.
And I said, I could probably buy a 40 unit here. If I would have just taken my time to find something, it wouldn't have been as sweet of a deal because I couldn't have done 1031, but I could have done a cost segregation on that and gotten a ton of money.
Especially on a building like that.
Oh my gosh.
Units, you could get a lot.
Yeah. But I lost a bunch of money there. So that was 2022. By that time, I'd done a couple more house hacks too. So I did 3 house hacks in Austin when I moved there. Did 3 more. Frankly, all of my house hacks have been my best deals percentage wise by a long shot.
Really?
Because you're putting so little money down, and you can take, and all I did each time, I know we talk to people about this all the time, Adam, is I would find something nasty or ratty and fix it up. I never found something that was perfect. My last one was the best, but it was still a $45,000 rehab. Like, it was extremely dated. It needed everything new cosmetically. And my second one even was like a $70,000 rehab. And it seems like a big risk. When you take something that's a massive dump and make it way nicer, automatically made a bunch of money. And you just got to, like, you can get a realtor like Adam or I to look at the comps for the fixed up property and say, yeah, this is a dump now, but if I fix it up, I'm going to make a bunch of money. And I learned that kind of stuff, kind of hanging out with Todd Dexheimer with the value add investing. I said, well, this is my version of value add investing, is taking something to the dump and making it nicer. It just never made sense to me that you would buy turnkey, because you miss that whole chunk of equity you could make. And yeah, I understand for a few years with 0 interest rates, people were buying something and they were getting massively good returns without doing any work. That's gone. You can't do that anymore. You need to buy something you can add value to really make good money in real estate investing.
Now you do. The only thing when you say that, I agree with that from the principle of making money, but from the principle of a lot of these people come into it, a lot of our clients come into it a little bit scared and green.
Sure, I get it.
And it adds a lot of complication. So the one thing I'd say is some people I just recommend, like, just get in.
I'm not saying that's the only way you can make money. I think it's the best way to make a lot of money.
I think it's the best way to make a lot of money, and you'll make a lot more money if you do that. The catch is with some people, I just say, look, this doesn't have to be your best deal. Just get good at buying a property, get less scared, which is what most of them have to do, and get good at being a landlord. And then on your next one, let's look at some value add, right?
Yeah.
Because it takes cash, and it takes some organizational skills, and it takes time. Unless somebody just like introduces you to a contractor and, holds your hand through it, which some people have those resources. But yeah, I generally agree. All my first deals I bought were turnkey because I didn't have the contractor connections. And if you're paying full retail for general contracting services,
expensive.
You have your agent run the comps. I'm going to buy this for $300. It's going to cost $100, and now it's going to be worth $400. Well, that math doesn't make any sense. There's no margin for all my effort. And I would say in the Twin Cities market, paying full retail for, like, if you Google general contractor, that's about the math that you get. Sometimes you lose money, right?
Yeah.
You see people
Absolutely.
all the time. Somebody put 100 into their kitchen and 50 into their bathroom, and then they're only selling it for 75 more. So, but yeah, where I'm at in investing now that I have those connections, that experience, I'd way rather make a big chunk of wealth from the jump than buy something that's low maintenance.
Well, that's why you have to know a good realtor like you that has those connections. And that's the easiest way to do it is to find somebody that works in this business all day, every day, and has good connections, and get to know them and say, hey, who do you use?
And I would definitely say, so I do almost exclusively value add investing like you. So I'm not like on the other side.
Just the easiest way to get in.
But some of my best deals have been ones where they were basically turnkey. And I say basically because I still do a little something every time. But like one time we added 2 AC units to a property, right? And that was it. And I didn't need to do anything else. And it was cash flow on day one. And then that property over in Southeast, the 8-bedroom house, I think you know about it, right? 1100 12th Avenue Southeast. We made at least, so I think we made $1,900 a month the first year in cash flow, and that was 100% turnkey. Didn't do one thing to the place. You know what I mean? So it's
I just think those are going to get harder and harder to find.
Almost impossible. Yeah. Those were luck, and I would tell people this. The only way you're going to find those is if you're looking for value add deals, and then you'll just come across one. So don't turn your nose up at a turnkey, but it shouldn't probably be your focus if you've got the skills.
And I think that's one of the good point too in what you just said. You're not going to find good deals unless you're in the game and people know. And the way I started raising private money to buy deals, so we bought 40 something burr houses from 2020 to 2022. The way I started doing that was people noticed that I was buying real estate and I was doing deals, and they essentially said, hey, let me help you. We can lend you money. And they knew I was somebody who was going to pay them back.
Yeah.
I had my first private money lender offered me money. I didn't ask anybody money. He just said, hey, I see you doing deals. I'm going to help you out. And I think people generally want to help you, but if they see you working hard and trying to make it happen on your own, they're more likely to want to help you than if you're just sitting there on the sidelines looking for the right deal. Nobody's going to jump up and help you. When they see you working hard and doing deals, they say, hey, let me help you make it easier.
Yeah.
And that's supercharged our investing. So
yeah, and your activity gives people get trust from seeing what you're doing online and everything else. They know you because everything else you do, they know your experience. They trust that you'll pay them back. Yeah. And so you're a better risk to them.
Yeah, between 2020 and 2022, again, we did about 40 burrs. We borrowed all of that money. And at the refinance, sometime we put some of our own money in. We borrowed a couple $1 million, rehab, purchase, everything to buy these houses. Again, like they looked great on spreadsheets, and now we're finding that we're starting to make money off these burr houses, which everybody thinks, oh, you own 40 houses. You must have been great cash flow. Look like it, but
not really.
And this shocks people. We haven't taken one distribution from these houses to this day.
That's 5 years in from your first purchase.
Wow.
Right?
5 years in.
From your first purchase.
From the first, yeah. Those are our best. The first purchase, if we just owned those, we'd be making really good cash flow off them. But because we have this whole other portfolio, it looks really good. And you can't read into that too much because, yes, we're not making great cash flow, but we've made a ton of equity. Right. And we are 1031ing. We sold 6 of these houses. We're 1031ing 6 of these houses into a 48-unit mobile home park. So yes, we didn't make a ton of cash flow off these, but we're going to make good cash flow off this end result, which is a mobile home park off of 6 of the 34 houses we owned at the time. We bought another mobile home park with 2 partners. We sold 2 houses, put like $15,000 each in. And that was our half of the down payment for the mobile home park. So we've already made almost our down payment back on that one. It's just, I think we get so caught up in immediacy and things have to happen right now.
Yeah, gotta have some patience.
And we forget that real estate investing takes time unless you're just a genius, which I'm not. I know there's people that have done really, really well quickly. That's not me. Slower.
Yeah, it's strange. I
You
mean,
think Jordan's slow,
sometimes there's opportunities, right? And I always labeled it, and I've said this. I called it the glitch in the market. Sometimes or the glitch in the matrix.
Yeah.
Sometimes you'll see that opportunity,
Oh my gosh.
right? I talk about this one. I'll bring it up again. Northeast Minneapolis in 2017, everyone wanted to pay $250, but the deals were the houses that were $325 that were finished, and that's when I started buying all my what do you call it? That's when I started buying my turnkey properties.
Mm-hmm.
I bought a couple of turnkeys because people were they were just looking at the price and they were not really factoring in the amount of rehab. So a lot of these houses, they were $75,000 more, but they were $150,000 better condition if you factor in the rehab costs, right? And so I was getting a deal and I knew it, and it took a while for the market to catch up.
Yeah.
Right. So if you find that, or you found the reason why you bird 40 properties in Louisville is you found an area where you could bird 40 properties.
Yeah.
If you tried to do that in the Twin Cities, you would have bird one, or whatever. Right. I mean,
we just lucked with timing, and I just saw the opportunity and just started going. I don't necessarily know that I consciously realized that, but things just kept working. So I just kept going, and I'm aggressive when it comes to buying. And once the numbers are working, I just kept going. I was not stopping. If the numbers work, I was going to go. And I think early on, I realized that you're not going to hit home runs, so just rack up the base hits.
And that was my big mistake, is I didn't rack up enough base hits. I tried to go for too many home runs early on. So I didn't have any money either, right? When we started investing way bigger pockets, I used credit cards and personal loans and everything to get to our first place. We literally stacked it together with like a couple different credit cards and 2 different personal loans just to get the property, and that was the 1004 18th and a half property.
But you got to do that to get started sometimes. I think that if people look at that, it's such a huge risk. You don't have anything to lose. There's no risk. In my first property in Northeast, I had nothing to lose. There was no risk.
Yeah.
What was I going to lose? Am I going to go back to zero?
We were just talking about this last episode, right?
Yeah, we did.
People who are just starting have so much fear, whether it's starting a business or buying a building. And worst case scenario, you file for bankruptcy, because it ruins your life, which isn't going to happen, but play it out,
And another thing I like about your Burr comment, and I thank you for telling people you didn't take distributions. I mean, I think people expect
we didn't get all our money back. We put, between my partner and I, each about $250,000 into these Burrs, but we more than doubled, quadrupled that
in equity. Yeah.
Way more than that. Yeah. So we've done very well with that. And we put money in. People say, well, you failed. You didn't get cash flow and you put money in. We failed, but 10 years from now, let's look at if I failed or not.
The only thing you failed, you probably did a lot closer to what you might have done a little worse than you imagined. But my guess is you figured out that these weren't going to be super big cash flow, because you could probably see, well, here's the rents, here's my payments. Mm-hmm. It's kind of obvious, right? A lot of people see the Burr method and think it only works if you get all your money back. And frankly, that is the ideal. But as you've been saying for many years now, even when we were working together, burring was almost impossible, because even though you're paying a lot less to get it, by the time you refinance, it's kind of like you're paying full price, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, by the time you fix it up and everything else, your mortgage is a pretty healthy number.
Yeah.
And unless the rents cover it, you're not going to be making cash flow. Not right away.
Rents going up can save you in Burr, but you can't always count on that. We never counted on that. It just happened.
But for those people who are like, well, I would never do that if I'm not getting cash flow, I would say this. If you're able to get all your money out, then you have a property where you put 0 in instead of 20%, right? And you don't have any cash flow, but you get every other benefit. Mm-hmm. So if you had to put some money in to keep the deal alive, let's say to fix something, instead of 20% of 300,000, which is 60 grand, you're going to put in 4 grand or even 1 grand. So it's still not a bad deal, right?
So we looked at things and we said, we're not making great cash flow. We're making a ton of equity, but what else can we do? And learned about cost segregations. Actually, my business partner turned himself into a real estate professional. His wife technically runs his business now, and he's a real estate professional. He still works in his business, but he qualifies as a real estate professional because he spends a lot of time on real estate.
Yeah.
So we've done cost segregations and all this, and we've paid almost nothing in taxes for the last few years off that.
Which is worth quite a bit considering what your tax bill would be.
Yeah. So we've saved all that money in taxes. So did we make cash flow? Not really, but did we save a ton of money and make money because of that? Absolutely. So I think that it's, again, like you're just looking at the right now versus what's going to happen in a couple of years. And a couple of years seems like a long time when you're looking forward. But when you're looking back, you say, well, it's only been a few years, and I significantly increased my net worth. I have all these options now because I can sell these properties. I can put them to work somewhere else, or I can just sit and hold them, and let them.
Because they are starting to profit now.
They pay down $10,000 a month in mortgage.
Right. I was going to ask you that. Thank you for saying that. It's $120,000 a year that most people would say, oh, it's just gravy. Yeah. It's not gravy if you get 40 houses, everybody. It becomes real money,
Even if you have one house or two houses, it's what are you saving for retirement for? Well, so someday I can not work. Okay, buy a couple houses. Then someday you can not work just off of those houses. You buy 3 duplexes in Minneapolis, St. Paul. Let's say you're making $6,000 to $8,000 a month in cash flow in 30 years. And they're worth $2 million. Like,
yeah,
you're not.
None of that's unreasonable. Yeah.
Yeah. It's completely reasonable. You're just buying it, holding it. Yeah. And but you have to be comfortable with that time, and again, why are you saving for retirement? I will die on this hill. Social Security is either not going to be around or be significantly diminished in the next 10 to 15 years. You need to plan for it now. You're going to be living in poverty if you don't plan ahead.
So I see Social Security checks. People get like $900 to $1,300.
People right now are living in poverty. People right now are living in poverty. It's going to get significantly worse. Yeah. If it's around at all. It's going to reduce by 50, 70% in the next 10 to 15 years.
Well, and the value of the dollar.
Well, if it doesn't, the value of the dollar is going to completely erode and be gone. So do something, buy assets, whether it's buying duplexes, single family, something like that. And maybe you're also investing in retirement accounts. And I do a little bit of all of it, but real estate is the best one I've found and definitely my biggest holding.
I love it.
I feel like it's a no-brainer. I was talking to a mutual client of ours last night, and we were talking about stocks and we're talking about stocks and timing the market and how his brother is like a day trader and tries to time the market, and how just dollar cost averaging beats like the smartest people at Harvard a lot of the time. Yeah. Right. And he asked me, do you try to time the market when it comes to real estate? And I said, no, because I'm 36. At 36 years old, if you're in your 30s are the best time to be investing, in my opinion, because 30 years later, guess what? Those are 60s, retirement age. I still think people think housing is expensive here. The fact that I can buy a single family home for $300,000 in a decent area when it costs $600 to build one, I think is insane. Yeah. And so,
there will be ups and downs in the market, and at some point in time you'll look like an idiot, and at some point in time you'll look like a genius. Yeah. So in Austin right now, you look like an idiot if you bought a house in the last few years, because the value is probably lower than it was. But when things start to get better, you'll look like a genius for the only person who was buying when nobody else was buying. And that's the interesting part. I've never been through a down market. We're going through it now. I've been through a couple. Yeah. But everybody says, when prices go down, I'm going to buy. But
they don't.
Nobody does.
They say that, but they don't.
Nobody does. And then there's these 1 or 2 weirdos that are buying up everything. And they look like geniuses when the market comes back. But it's just hard, man.
And I want to talk about that. That's a subject I actually wanted to bridge into, because I think it's so important for people to understand, and I'm hoping Minnesota comes around to this. But can you explain to everyone, because Austin's still a hot place to move, right? People still move there. You're getting net migration in. Right?
Yeah.
So population's increasing. Do you have any idea what the rate is of population increase? Even just a ballpark?
It's just a couple percent now. So it's weird because you can pick different things to look at. People say, well, immigration to Austin's actually losing people. Yes, they are technically, like a few thousand.
But it's just the whole area is still growing.
The whole area is growing like crazy.
Like Round Rock and all that.
Yeah, Round Rock, Georgetown, Leander, Kyle. They're some of the fastest growing cities in the United States. Yeah. But when you say Austin and you only look at Austin and not the metro, Austin loses a few thousand people a year because they have kids or whatever, and they move out a little bit further.
Yeah, interesting.
But if you talk MSA is the term that we use,
it's
right?
Growing.
That MSA is growing. Do you know how many? Is it? For a while it was were you getting 100,000 a month? Or more?
Yeah, there was a significant for a while. I don't think it was 100,000 a month, but it was like 100-some thousand per year. And the weird thing is,
just per year. Okay.
You look at Austin and Dallas. In Dallas, has a lower percentage growth, but a much higher person growth because it's 8 million people metro. We're 2.5 million in Austin.
But when it comes to housing percentages, in this case, I would argue don't matter. It's people, because people have to occupy houses, right? So, like, for example, if 1% is 80,000 people in Dallas, I don't know if that's true, but let's just say it is. That's still 80,000 people that need houses. I don't care if it's 3% in Austin, but that's 40,000. It's way less houses that are needed, and you have to build them, right?
Something Texas is really good at, though, is building. Even Austin, which, like, you look at Austin and Dallas, and they're a lot different politically, and you would say, like, well, you know, this type of city builds more than that. Well, Austin has done very well. As I said, any commercially zoned area, you can build multifamily on. And all these national builders came in and said, tons of people are moving here. So we're going to build a ton of housing, and we're going to make a ton of money. They did for a while until they just overbuilt the demand. So they've overbuilt the demand so much that people are offering 1 month, 2 months, 3 months free. I have an agent. He just started as an agent, so his income isn't quite there yet for the agent. But he owned a house already, a house hack, and he was doing really well on it. Mm-hmm. He said, I'm going to make more money moving out of my one unit
and renting somewhere else.
So he did that. He has cheaper rent than he was paying for his portion of the mortgage, and he got a $500 gift card and 10 weeks free to move into his house, which just seems almost unheard of. I know that's not happening here. They're not giving 10, 12 weeks free on apartments and $500 gift cards.
Well, and that's going to cool the housing market even more. Right? I mean, if you're thinking about, should I re-sign my lease, or I could have a espresso machine in the lobby and a rooftop pool and 3 months free rent.
Pools, gaming areas, gyms, like luxury hotel type places that are dirt cheap. We have 1-bedroom rents under $1,000 now.
Yeah.
Within 15 minutes of downtown.
Let's get a place in Austin, Tim.
And this is what I keep saying. Like, people often think like there's a lot of building going on in the Twin Cities. Oh, they're building everywhere. No, that's 90 homes. Go look at a birth ward and tell me if it's a lot of houses. It's not. But Austin actually did it. And that's how you bring housing prices down. It's not rent control or anything else, right? I mean, that's the big picture, is build enough and rents and prices will both come down.
You have to.
And that's what Austin did, right?
Yeah.
It's all about building.
I don't think they even did it that consciously. They just said, well, what Austin did too is a lot of their apartments, they said, well, if you're going to build it, we'll give you higher density if you make a certain percentage of it affordable.
Yeah.
And affordable meant under the area median income. The area median income is like $105,000. So if you made it and said, you have to make $80,000 to live here, I'm like, all right, we'll do that. We can still get the rent we want. It makes our numbers work still. And we're going to get 10% more density.
Yeah.
Why would we not? Like, so you see some of these buildings are almost up on the street because they gave them more density.
Yeah.
Wait, so if I understand this correctly, Austin was gaining, and now you're saying that they lose maybe 1,000 people a month?
Yeah.
Well,
when did
just the city
start?
limits, not the whole area.
I understand that, but like, was the municipality itself, Austin, gaining for a while and now it's going down?
Everywhere in the area was gaining. Now the city of Austin specifically loses people. So like, we went to a wedding down in Austin. I think it was in Georgetown. So about an hour north of Austin.
Yeah.
Georgetown is growing like crazy. And it's part of it. People say they live in Austin to somebody that doesn't live in Austin when they live in Georgetown. It's like, hey, I live in Wayzata.
Yep.
Or something. You say, well, I live in Minneapolis.
Sure.
But if you're in Minneapolis, you say, I live in Wayzata. But those periphery cities are still growing like crazy. The specific city of Austin loses like a couple thousand people a year, moving out to those cities mostly. So it's just the supply and demand, and anybody that would possibly listen to this that works for any sort of municipality, if you want to fix housing prices, build. Build. You can fix it every which way.
We're working on getting Mayor Carter, and I got a personal friend of his that I asked, and I hope that he listens to this as part of his thing. I don't know that he will, but anyone who actually has influence over a politician should listen. Look at what happened in Austin. That's the way to solve your housing problem.
It's terrible for a lot of us. I mean,
for real estate investors, it kind of sucks. I'm actually kind of looking forward to it. I think that every market needs a little bit of a reset, and I'm not really overly scared long term.
It kills a lot of our competition as real estate investors, because a lot of people say, well, look, rents are going down. There's so many places being built. There's no way I want to invest there. But what happens is there's the people that have to sell, and that's where you get the really good deals. Mm-hmm. So people are selling. I mean, I talked to a seller recently We're listed at 750. We got an offer at 650 and he's considering it. And that's not abnormal. And I absolutely tell these people, hey, rather than take these lower offers, let's reduce it a little bit and spur some more interest. As a realtor, that's my advice to people. But a lot of realtors just say, okay, we'll do what you got to say. And we'll take that $100,000 below. And then you set the comp $100,000 lower.
Yeah.
So then somebody else comes to the market and needs to sell, and he might be a little desperate. He sets the comp $25,000 lower. And it just starts, that's when the prices look like they're in a free fall, because the comps start being lower and lower. And while you're holding tight on your price is gone. I mean, if you're in that market, if you're in a Florida or Texas right now, just sell for what you can get, because it might get worse. If interest rates for some reason go down the next couple months, which I think is probably going to take till next year personally, and again, I have no idea. I could be completely wrong.
Right.
But you're swimming upstream trying to hold on to your price, and you're going to get washed over the falls here soon.
Yeah, and so a little tip for sellers in general and even buyers is it's usually twice as efficient to get closing costs paid to lower your rate than it is to lower the price. So what I mean is this: if you had to, let's say you're asking, or a buyer, you're asking for a $10,000 discount. If you get them to pay your $10,000 to buy your rate down, your payment's going to be twice as low compared to the $10,000 discount. It'll be twice. It'll lower your payment twice as much. So for a seller or a buyer that's long-term minded, it's actually cheaper for both of you to do that.
That's why builders are throwing, like, I think Pulte Homes, I keep seeing they're doing $50,000 credits on a lot of their houses, paying for all the closing.
In the Austin area?
I think just all over, but paying for all or a blanket across the nation.
Sure.
So they're paying for tons of closing costs. And Tim, you probably understand this better. They get some sort of deal with the lenders.
They can, it's kind of like, you know how airlines, they like pre-buy fuel futures?
Yeah.
You can buy mortgage rate futures is what they're doing. So they're basically committing to someone a certain amount that they're going to sell a certain amount of mortgages. And they're required to deliver those mortgages. It costs them big money. So they basically pre-buy the money at a set amount and then deliver those mortgages in the future, right? So the best way I can think of it is like those gas futures for airlines. So you say, we're going to do $10 million of mortgages by December 31st of this year, and then they give them the rate, and they have to deliver those 10 million, or they're paying a penalty. I don't know what the penalty is, but it's enough to make it worth it. So they're just trying to, and they need to unload the product.
So the rates are dramatically lower.
Yeah, like in the 5s.
Yeah, we're seeing some as low as 4. I want to say, and this blew my mind, one of our agents found a deal in the low 3s.
Okay.
It was temporary.
For new construction, mortgage rate, just to be clear to people.
3-2-1 buy down.
Oh, it's 3, but that's not the same as the end rate was. Yeah, it wasn't permanent. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's not permanent. So again, you have to imagine I'm going to be paying that base rate.
Yeah.
Eventually.
I know you just talked about 3-2-1 with David, but why don't we? So for anyone who wants to listen to more, Jordan, he's on David Green's podcast twice. Plus, you host your own podcast. You want to talk about that a second? Just tell us what it is.
Yeah. So I have the Austin Real Estate Investing podcast, and David Green has a couple podcasts that are awesome. I know he has one just about specifically real estate, one more about mortgages, one more about the real estate business. He talks about everything. So his are awesome. He's highly connected in, but to the buy down, and to your point, Tim,
you talked about the
getting your closing costs paid for, and I'm just shocked on how many people don't know about this, agents included, or don't talk about it enough. But you can get those closing costs towards rate buy downs. So if you're an FHA buyer, for instance, you can get 6% closing costs from the seller.
Yep. And
you could use, let's call it 3% for your closing costs, the buyer's closing costs. And you could use another 3% for buy downs. And I don't know what that gets you, but I'm sure you could probably buy a 3-2-1 with that.
Yeah. And explain to people what a 3-2-1 is, please.
Yeah.
3-2-1. And I don't want to step on Tim's feet.
No, absolutely. I want to get it explained.
Than I do.
Yeah. Pretty simple concept.
It's simple concept. Yeah. The rate is 3% less the first year, 2% less the next year, and 1% less the third year. What I didn't understand about the temporary buy downs is they hold that money in escrow.
Yes.
This is what blew my mind. This is the
important part, yeah.
This blew my mind. I didn't know this. I thought that you just paid this up front. You do, but the money's held in escrow. So if some reason the rates went down to equal or lower than where your current rate is on your mortgage, you could refinance and take that chunk of money in escrow and put it towards your loan.
Yep.
So you do not lose.
Yeah, there's
no, because it's just like negotiating a price discount. It's just the price discount's going to affect your payment unless you sell or refinance, in which case it converts to a price discount. It's essentially what happens, right?
That blew my mind.
It is a big no-brainer. One of the differences for people out there thinking about this, it does not increase the amount you can buy, though. Because it's temporary, lenders still have to go whatever the higher rate is. So, like, let's say today's rate is 7% and you're going to get 4% the first year, blah, blah, blah. They're going to use the 7% rate to qualify you. So if you want to qualify for more house, you have to do what's called a permanent buy down, which isn't as aggressive. A permanent buy down, 3 points might get you 3 points might get you close to a full point discount in rate.
Yeah.
Maybe not a full point, but somewhere in that range. So your 7% would go down to 6. But then that 6% is what they're going to actually use for your debt to income ratio. And that's the big difference. And we use them depending on what the person needs differently. But I agree. I think buying a rate down, that whole 1%, that 3% discount that the seller would be giving, let's say to buy the rate down 1%, they would have to give 6% discount on their house just to get the same payment as the 3% rate buy down. So it's really, really important to get that across to people.
Better for both parties. And then you can, I think as a realtor, you can still give the seller what they want on the price, and the concessions are just higher. And I've had so much luck with that. Of here, you can have your price, but I want X amount concessions. I mean, we just did this on a deal we're buying right now. We said, hey, well, we need all these concessions to take care of all these repairs after closing. And they said, okay. Oh, we still want to get our price.
It's another benefit to using alternative loan products, because one thing, if you're using Fannie Mae products or conventional products that you're used to, they limit those concessions pretty severely. And on an investment property, it's only 2%.
2%, yeah.
And Fannie Mae charges, in most cases, more than 2% upfront and additional closing costs into that rate. So it doesn't go very far at all. 3% on a primary unless you're putting 10% down, right? But you start getting into these other products, and a lot of them are 6, like you said. So sometimes we'll work with people who want, they're buying an investment property, and we'll work with commercial loans. In most commercial lenders, it's as long as it appraises, it's unlimited. Yeah. Not that we ever use unlimited. We probably don't even get to 6%, but you don't have to worry about it. You go, okay, I need X amount. I can get all my closing costs covered. And then I'm doing maybe a slightly lower down payment because it's conventional instead of it's a commercial instead of conventional, and you can really reduce the amount of cash into the deal.
Yeah, the deal looks way better. I mean, that's how you make deals work, because you get creative like that. And everybody just looks at the price, and the price is not everything. It's a part of the deal, a big part of the deal, but there's so many other ways. Concessions, repairs, closing cost or temporary rate buy downs, permanent rate buy downs. I like the temporary better right now. I'm a gambler, and I want to hope that rates are going to be significantly lower in the future, not like 3% low, maybe 5% low.
Yeah.
And if you want to go back, August 2022, I did a podcast with a guy named Jeremy Knight. He's a realtor in Austin. And
he's the guy who's on YouTube you're telling me about?
He's a great presence on YouTube. And we said, no way rates are going any higher than they are. They're like 5.5. They're done. They're not going up anymore. And I think we were probably of the majority that thought that. We were completely wrong.
By 2%. They got up to 7.5%.
Almost 8% at one point.
Yeah, I suppose they did for a little while, yeah.
Yeah, there was like a good day or two they were at 8. And
how were you justifying that prediction? What were your sources at that time? And you also made a comment a couple of minutes ago about how you think rates might be going down in the next few months. Explain.
No, not for the next few months, right?
I think
that's what he said.
The next few months. I don't think they're going to. I don't think they're going to go down until the Powell leaves his office.
I must have misunderstood what you said.
But I also don't. I don't think that the more I know, the more I understand, the less I know.
Yeah.
So like the more I figure out, and I think if I'm a lay person right now, and I'm looking at the Fed funds rate, which is what I think most people look at. Oh, and I talked to a lady on the phone. She said, "Well, they just lowered the rates. They're 4.5 now, right?" I'm like, "That's the Fed funds rate. The mortgage rates are still 7. They're 6.75, whatever they are today, just to get exact. But the problem is the Fed funds rate doesn't necessarily directly drive mortgage rates. It's more the 10-year Treasury.
Yep.
And correct me where I'm wrong, because again,
you're absolutely right. Yep.
The more I learn, the more I know I don't know.
Yeah.
But the 10-year Treasury isn't really going down.
No, and that has a lot to do with inflation and investing in Powell. That's why Trump keeps hitting it. It's $350 billion to the U.S. government for every 1% the federal funds rate is up because of our debt.
They want the rate
per
down.
year.
Yeah, they want the rate down so they can refinance. I think they're trying to refinance a lot of debt here soon, so they're trying to get the rates down.
And so for people, just real high level here, if the Fed funds rate is 4.5 right now, right?
Yep.
And so if it's 4.5, and also, gosh, I haven't looked at the 10-year Treasury, but is it around 4 right now?
It was, I think it was above
4.2,
4.2, 4.3, yeah.
Something like that. Anyway, so someone who is investing in a mortgage bond would look at the 10-year Treasury, and they would see those as being pretty close to equal investments. Close enough, right?
Yeah.
And so they'd say, well, if I can get 4.3 from the 10-year Treasury, why would I buy a mortgage bond that's 3%?
Yeah,
Okay.
has some sort of risk to it, where the 10-year Treasury is supposed to not have any risk.
Correct. And think of the 10-year, think of the mortgage bond. If you're a mortgage, like if you're buying a mortgage, like a consumer borrowing for a mortgage, that 3% is like the cost of goods. That's how much it costs them to just for the raw materials for your loan. The raw materials right now are costing basically 4.3%. That's why we're at 7%, because the 7% then is everything on top of that. Fannie Mae takes a cut. Wells Fargo takes a cut, Tim's loan company takes a cut, right? And when it's all said and done, you get to 7%.
Yeah, and there's a pretty big spread right now too. Again, like very basic understanding. The spread is higher than normal right now. Is that right? It's like a 250 basis point spread
for between the 10-year and the short term.
Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't been paying close attention, so I can't. Yeah. I would hate to say for sure, but it wouldn't surprise me.
But it's odd. I mean, when we're talking about like DSCR loans versus conventional loans, DSCR loans used to always be way higher. Now they're actually
almost
lower
identical.
Or identical now.
Yeah.
But they're almost identical to primary.
If you get if you get a DSCR loan with a kind of a stiffer prepayment penalty, you could be below a primary residence home.
Yep.
Yeah. With a lower down payment. So if you're going to keep the loan for a while and you're not going to refinance for 3 to 5 years, can make some sense.
And I was telling somebody the other day, if we would have known about DSCR loans when we bought all these houses, we'd be cash flowing like crazy right now.
The current spread is 2.25 to 2.5 percentage points. Historically, it's between 1.5 and 2.
Yeah.
Excellent. Thank you.
Yeah. So it's up a little bit, not a lot. It's not as much as I would have thought.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there's certain stuff like the DSCR loans I think are cool. And I know you do a lot of them.
So
because of the longer amortization.
Yeah.
Like we're a 20-year amortization on all of our houses.
That would have made a difference. So the one thing is, like a couple of years ago, I've been holding off selling DSCR loans for years because just a few years ago, I actually tried to get one on a property, and I went cheap source, everything else. I couldn't find a DSCR loan below 8.25%, and that was everything was ideal. Interest rate was ideal, down payment was ideal, everything, and it was just real. But it was on a vacation rental, so we could make 8.25% work. It was a little rough, but it could work. Now I'm doing them at like some in 7.25%. I mean, it depends on the situation, but like there's also some at 7.75%, right? So just for the record, but like that's the range right now. Yeah. And the 7.75% is not ideal. That's Minnesota. Minnesota is like a half point higher than everywhere else because we don't allow prepays.
Yeah. Oh, no prepayment penalty here.
Yeah.
Huh.
So it's
even
hard
the
to get
commercial
below
banks
7.6.
can't do prepayment penalties?
Commercial loans can, but residential cannot.
Okay.
And what's the justification behind those rules?
They thought that homeowners were getting, they were worried about homeowners not being able to make a smart choice, right? And back in the day, so first of all, DSCR loans are a form of what used to be a subprime loan, right? If this was 10 years ago, we'd call them subprime loans. And they were worried people would be getting owner-occupied loans that were a 2-year fixed rate, but a 3-year prepayment penalty, right? And that was really common. And that was a really abusive thing. I think they should have changed the law so that the prepayment penalty cannot exceed the fixed rate period, stuff like that. But they just kind of outlawed them, kind of.
That is a little predatory.
Technically speaking, just so anyone knows, if you really want to get technical, if you're above Fannie Mae's loan limit, you can have a prepayment penalty in the state of Minnesota on a primary residence. Okay. But that's $806,500.
Yeah.
So
and I'm sure there's a lot that don't have prepayment penalties.
I haven't seen one on our
I'm finding a lot of
primary
commercial
at all.
loans that don't have prepayment penalties
Really?
or have like carve outs where if you refinance with us, there's no
Oh, yeah.
prepayment.
Yeah, I see that a lot.
Yeah, I always make sure that, so we've been buying mobile home parks. I always make sure we have that ability. If rates drop, can I refinance with you?
Yes.
So yeah, I guess as far as where I went, we bought a bunch of single family. That didn't cash flow great. We made a ton of equity. I continued to buy duplex house hacks. We did about 5 between Jess and I, my wife.
Nice.
She did 1, I did 4. She lived in 3 of them with me. We did a live-in flip at the exact wrong time in Austin.
Yeah.
So we bought it in May of 2023. We bought it in, I want to say February or March. It took us until May to move in because we had to do a big rehab to it. We loved the house. Really nice little house. Didn't like the area at all. Thought we were going to make a bunch of money on it. I think we made like $15,000, and I didn't take a commission on either side.
So basically, you lost money if you figure the commission.
If you figured the commission, I lost money.
Hey, I got a question for you because you said you didn't like the area. Tell me about that. That like was an antenna.
It was just too far, and we didn't. I mean, with all of our house hacks, we said, what do we need to be close to? What do we like being around? We can stretch a little bit, but we still want to be in areas we want to be in. In this live and flip, we didn't think about living in it as much. We said, okay, we're going to flip it and we're going to be gone.
Yeah.
So a year or two.
Like a year or two, yeah.
We were going to do 2 years, which we should have thought about a little more. But it was really far from my office. It's about 45 minutes from my office with traffic. Wasn't too far from where she had to be. I'll talk about what she did with her house hack in a minute. It wasn't too far for her, but it was just an area we didn't have anything we liked to do around it. The gym was 20 minutes. The grocery store was 20 minutes. It was in this weird pocket that made everything really far away.
Would you say that was true for a lot of people? Like, or was it devoid of a lot of the things people like to do? Or was it just your specific stuff because of your gym, your work?
Probably me.
Or was it? Okay.
Me,
So
her
it was
and
still
I.
a good it was still a very desirable area, would you say? Or do you think that hurt your flip? I'm kind of curious.
Because there's, arguably one of the biggest mistakes you can make in real estate is buying a house that you love in an area that you don't love.
Yeah.
Location's number one.
So actually we sold it to a new doctor. So it wasn't like it's not a terrible area. It was a nice little neighborhood. It was just the area kind of felt like a desert. It was all neighborhoods around us, all neighborhoods in multifamily, really no restaurants other than this one amazing pho restaurant right across the street.
Okay.
Which just it's all on its own right there.
Yeah.
It wasn't terrible, but it wasn't great. And it wasn't the most desirable area. I think we sold it in a good time still, but it was a beautiful house. It was a really nice house. We did a really nice rehab to it. If it would have been in a slightly better area, I think we would have done better, but we bought as the market was going down. We thought the market had stopped going down and it just kept going. So we didn't make good money off it because of that. But every owner occupant, all 5 we'd done up to that were great. So we were still in a good position. We bought a house in an area we really liked this time and don't have any plans on going anywhere now. So for the first time, I bought my first house in 2016. In 2024, I bought a house that we don't plan on moving out of shortly.
Yeah.
8 years.
Nice run.
Yeah. And I think that I want to hit that comment real quick. Like, you have to do this with some sort of urgency. When you're house hacking, like, you're not going to be able to do it forever for some reason or another. So just do it and do it as many as you can quickly. I think we could have gotten 1 or 2 more in, maybe 1 more in if we would have moved quickly. But I stretched it. Like, I moved every year and a half. And we never stayed anywhere that long. It just kept moving. And got assets because of that. So the 2 we still own paid the majority of our mortgage in Austin.
Nice. Yeah. I was going to ask because I think a lot of people buying in any market have a fear of buying at the top of the market and then seeing a correction. And that's what's happened to you in Austin.
Oh, yeah.
So, and you've obviously went on a tear. You bought a bunch of places. And I'm guessing that there are places that you bought for more than they're worth today. Would that be correct? Or you're doing big renovations, so maybe not. But where I'm going with this question is I want to hear, like, how is that affecting your life today, having perhaps bought at the top and then seeing the market settle?
Well, I mean, we've certainly bought and they're worth way more than what they're worth now. So we bought, there's one that I'm about even. I would probably lose money selling it right now.
Sure.
Maybe a couple grand, not a lot. We did a big reno on it, and that saved a lot of that. So both duplexes that I bought in Austin at one point in time were worth $600,000 to $650,000. Now they're probably both worth about $500,000. I bought one of them at $500,000, so you can see where we're going here.
Yeah.
But we don't have any plans in selling. We've got long-term debt. It's just no reason to go anywhere but just hang on to it. We've got one on a 10-year loan with a local bank, and at some point in time we'll need to refinance that. But you just only sell if it makes sense. We've sold a couple. At this point in time, I think I've sold probably 10 to 12 properties.
And I would have expected that answer for your life to not be negatively affected. I just thought it would be good for people to hear. Have you seen your rents go down at all?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay, so tell us about that.
Our rents were around $2,000 on one unit. I ended up having to rent it out for $1,850. And in all honesty, I had the guy coming up for renewal, and he said, well, I'll stay if you keep my rents the same. And I immediately sent him a lease, because if I would have had to market it again, I would have had to drop him probably another $50. So, I mean, let's say, what's that, 10% down or something?
Doesn't sound like a devastating amount of money to a person like you.
Devastating. But I mean, it affects us because we live very frugally, and this money is paying our mortgage. So like, if our mortgage is around $4,000, if we're making $3,200 from the duplexes and that drops off a couple $100, then we have to come up with more money. So we have to kind of rearrange our life. And again, it's not going to kill you, but so we pay probably about $1,000 or $1,200. Well, we pay $1,000 towards our mortgage every month, and we pay any extra we can every year, that kind of stuff.
This is where, in a topic I always kind of like get a little a hot button topic for me is people talk about scale as always being positive. They never talk about the negative. So I think I would agree with you that like 150 for a unit isn't life shattering for you. But multiply that now by 100 units.
A lot.
You start buying, so it does matter at scale, right?
Well, especially with commercial debt, and where they make you keep certain debt service coverage ratios. And these are long-term fixed residential mortgages. Like they're not going to call the loan due.
Right.
It's different. It's
a lot different.
We're buying mobile home parks now. We're buying stuff where we can get the revenue up considerably, and we're not buying something that's turnkey type deal. We're buying stuff that's kind of a dump.
Yeah.
We're making it a lot nicer. We're increasing the revenue a lot.
Let's bring this conversation back to Minnesota for at least a little bit.
Yeah. Sure.
Before we wrap up. Yeah. So your experience of investing in Minnesota, did you only buy the one duplex in Northeast?
I ended up only buying one. My wife bought one in St. Paul, built in 1880 something.
Oh yeah, Midway.
Yeah. That worked out really well for her. So that duplex, she bought it. We found it off market through a realtor that I had worked with before. And I sold one of his, and that's actually the one we're selling right now.
Oh, nice. On the east side?
Yeah. So
cool.
I'd sold a property of his. I knew he owned a bunch, and I reached out and I said, hey, my girlfriend at the time was looking for one. Do you have any like close in town type of deal that you'd be looking to sell? He said, yeah, I've got this one. It was on Thomas Avenue in Midway. Really nice little duplex. Had a big 2-car garage, really weird units. So she went in there and painted and fixed up everything herself. Made these units nicer, got good tenants. And then a couple years in, it was hard for her to manage it from Texas. And she was managing it all herself and with the help of her mom. She kind of felt bad. She was dragging her mom into all this. But wanted to like start a business or whatever. She didn't know she wanted to buy one at the time. She wanted to start a business making pillows. So she sold this and said, I'm going to have this little nest egg to start a business. And then Biz Buy Sell is a business website where they buy and sell businesses. And I got an email one morning when we were at an airport, actually, that said like a pillow manufacturer. I forget what it was, but it made sense to me. It wasn't specifically that. It's a custom sewing workroom. And I said, oh, this would be interesting, and sent it to her. And she ended up buying this business. It took her 6 months to buy it, but she bought it with an SBA loan and used those funds from her first duplex.
So she had made some equity on the place.
Yeah, she made good money off it.
Nice.
Again, she like fixes all up with her hands type deal. and she did all the work herself.
Yeah, I remember that place. That was a really cool floor plan on the main level. Kind
Yeah.
of like more open than you would have thought. Remember that winter where I decided to start a snow removal business?
Yeah.
Dude, I'm such an
did
idiot.
Snow removal for a little bit. Yeah. Yeah, and it was great. We lived in it for a while. She made good money off selling it, but she did move that money into this business she bought. So she bought a business with 10% down. It might have been a little more because they moved that down payment around. But she made that money back, that down payment, in the first couple months of owning this business. So she took a duplex that she put 5% down on. She got one of those very elusive 5% down conventional loans.
Yep.
Back in the day,
They almost don't exist anymore.
they were really hard to
I
get.
haven't done one of those for many months.
But now they're a lot easier too.
Well, yeah,
It's a different loan.
different loan. Yeah, it's a different loan. It
was like you had to have really good credit and had to have it for a really long time.
yeah. The
Had to
one
make
she
good
got
money.
was tricky to get. Yeah.
Good money, but not very good money, and
Yeah.
she hit all the boxes somehow.
Yep.
So she bought that, put 5% down, made good money, bought a business. So yeah, I guess off of our first 2 duplexes, she owns a business that she makes good money on now and could sell for a lot of money in the future if she wanted to. Off of my first duplex that I bought in Northeast, theoretically that's turned into it's hard to even peg how many units that's come out of. I mean, we're about, after next week, we'll be at like 130 units
Yeah.
between my business partner and I, and some of those I own on my own. But all that would not have happened had I not bought that first duplex in Northeast. It was, I didn't have, again,
You probably wouldn't even be a realtor had you not bought that duplex, right?
for sure.
Probably
I got into it because I liked real estate investing and I liked helping people with it. And I saw there wasn't a lot of people out there that knew how to help people with it. There's many more people out there that are like catering to real estate investors right now, but just kept meeting with realtor after realtor that just had commission breath. I said, this is not cool, man. Like I want somebody that gets this, understands this game. Yeah, that first one, I wouldn't have anything. I'd probably have a decent IRA or whatever, but would not have.
You'd have 6-pack abs.
Plus units. Yeah, I'd probably be in better shape.
How do you know? I think he might have them under there, man.
No, not
Let's see him,
anymore,
Jordan.
man.
YouTube reveal.
No.
Okay, if somebody's looking to get into real estate investing in the Twin Cities, what are your top 3 neighborhoods? And try to be specific.
I still really like Northeast. I still think Northeast is great. I think it has a lot of opportunity. There's a lot of cool stuff going on there.
Do you have an area in Northeast that you like? Narrow it down a little more,
Not really specifically. I really like the area I was in over off Grand.
Yeah. So kind of along the river area.
It's
Arts District. almost,
calmer.
right?
Yeah, Arts District calmer, more laid back.
It's so funny. When I grew up in Northeast, that was the dump. That was
it's
that
so
was like
close.
the West 7th neighborhood, or they're all run down. Those were all run down back then, but they've been gentrified.
You guys see the Onion? There's an Onion headline last week that it was like a picture of a multicolored bench, and it said real estate developers deem colorful bench enough to call neighborhood Arts District. So it's like a branding thing,
Yeah. No, I really like if you can deal with rent control, I like West 7th and West St. Paul too. I think there's a lot of opportunity there. But then I think South St. Paul doesn't have any rent control. You can kind of be there.
Yeah, the municipality of St. Paul proper is the only place with rent control currently in the Twin Cities.
Rent control is only a problem if you're way below market on rents. If you keep up with rents and if you play their game of they have the hardship rent raise, you can still stay up on the rents. You just got to keep on it. But if you're doing Airbnb or rent by the room or that kind of stuff, you can get around a lot of that too.
Yeah.
We've hit this to death on this podcast, but rent control in St. Paul is ultimately just benefiting the people who already have units because it's creating more scarcity, and you can still very easily raise rent 8% a year.
Yeah.
Which is most people are not raising rent 8% a year without rent control existing. So that's the irony.
Yeah. Again, it's only a problem if you're way below market. But if you're close to market or even right at market, you're in good shape.
And I think it hurts people who have bigger places because what I'm seeing, there's actually a mailing list you can be on, And so I see all the rent control actions, meaning that they're like, if a lawyer sends a letter to the city to say, hey, this rent went up too much, we want you to review it. I get those emails, and the only emails I get on those are for people with multi-unit buildings. I'm not talking duplex or fourplex. I'm talking like 40, 6, 8, 12 or more. Yeah. So I think that's really where you see it.
Yeah.
Wait, real quick, can you explain how did you get on that mailing list and what is it?
How I got it, I think it was when we were researching St. Paul ordinances. There was like a tab I put it in. I don't remember. I'm just on it. I just get the emails. But I get an email, and it's really just, it's a it's a PDF attachment, and it has just hyperlinks to all the cases and what they're asking for.
See, because it's all public information, somebody's just filtering it out and letting people know about the rent control specific cases.
So what I'll do is
let's link that in the show notes.
I'll figure it out where it comes from, and then and we can talk about it on like an outro.
Cool.
I think
that'd be good to know.
Then other thing you can do is go around places that have rent control. So find the South St. Paul or the North St. Paul or the Roseville, one of those areas that's right on the edge, and buy there, where things are still growing and you've got a lot of opportunity, because people are going to move out of these areas that are dealing with this. So use it to your advantage.
Have you heard about this new Minneapolis mayor-elect?
Yeah, I have. I think he's got a good shot at winning.
It looks like he will.
I think there could be a lot of opportunity there too. Like I know Grigori, who does a ton of Section 8, isn't worried about it at all. There's probably a lot of opportunity for him, but you just got to play these swings in politics and policy until it goes back the other way.
And where do you see opportunity? I think I know what you're about to say, but I want it on camera. Where do you see the opportunity with this socialist mayor-elect for somebody like Grigori, who owns lots of units in North?
Section 8, because your Section 8 rents are going to keep going up and up and up, because they're going to probably restrict housing being built, which means that people are forced into the existing housing stock. Rent control is a terrible policy.
Yeah.
It just slows growth more than anything, because if you're a developer, why are you going to develop in St. Paul where you can't raise your rents enough to make a lot of money? You're going to develop somewhere where you can. And if St. Paul and Minneapolis both looks like it's a struggle, then it constricts the supply of housing. I heard there's like 50,000 units in New York that can't be put online because the rent control makes it, you can't invest the money in them. It makes sense how to put the money in them, so they're sitting dormant. Rent control just restricts housing more than anything. Yes, the housing that's there keeps the rents in line.
It restricts housing and it restricts investment, right?
Yeah.
So then even just the little mom and pops are scared off. I mean, I think Adam and I both agree that it's not that big of a deal, but that's not what most people think.
Yeah.
And so most people are not investing in St. Paul. They're investing in, let's say, Lakeville or Columbia Heights or wherever, or,
St. Paul can't Austin itself out of housing issues, because nobody wants to just build like crazy in St. Paul because it's rent control. So the existing housing is all you've got.
And don't you think even let's live in a world for a second where this mayor doesn't get elected? I still think the institutional money might not now be wary of Minneapolis, right? Probably. They've already passed rent control via referendum, and now we've elected, or at least the primary process has designated a socialist to be the DFL candidate. So even if it doesn't quite go, and he's talking about a rent freeze, I don't know, man. If I'm like the CEO of some sort of national developer, I might just avoid Minneapolis.
Yeah, because they have other options, right? They can go anywhere. They're not. It's not like they go to the Minneapolis parks. They already live in Atlanta or Dallas or somewhere else, right? And so why would they consider Minnesota if they've got that? And I mean, the other thing is our state laws and our courts like making evictions harder and harder. In Texas, you can basically just lock the door on someone, correct?
You can shoot them, right, if they don't pay you?
You didn't pay me, boom.
There are some instances where you can change the locks on them. And one of the funnier ones I've heard is there's instances if they don't pay their rent, you could take their TV. Which I thought was super funny.
That is funny.
Of course, what else would you want to take from somebody that would make them upset? Their TV, So they're probably going to take it seriously if you take their TV. I would never want any part of that, and I've never had any issues with it at all.
But I guess my point is if you're, so you're in a landlord situation where you've got a place that's a little hard to rent, right? Not a perfect place, right? Let's say it's a low C area, and That low C is either in Texas, where you can evict quickly if there's a problem, or it's in Minneapolis, St. Paul, where it's 30 days notice to give to the right to file for eviction, and then another few months after that. So you're like 3-4 months in. Yeah. Where do you invest?
Oh yeah, I mean, it's an easy answer. Wherever it's easier, and that's where, when we're buying these bigger properties, we're really looking at the landlord-tenant laws before we buy in that area. It's part of our due diligence. It's part of before you even look at buying properties there. But like Illinois, there's tons of mobile home parks for sale in Illinois. There's tons of mobile home parks for sale in New York and Pennsylvania. Nobody wants any of those, and there's a reason why. 2 of them have rent control already. 1 of them keeps screaming about it at the top of their lungs. Why are you going to buy there? Especially because a lot of the value you can make with rental properties is finding some landlord that's owned it forever that charges $800 for that 2-bedroom duplex unit in Northeast Minneapolis, where it should be $1,700, $1,800, $1,900.
Yeah.
I'm sure you get more than that on some of yours. That's where you make so much money, is finding these super low rents and jacking up the rents, not in a negative way.
No, you're putting money in, like you said.
Yeah,
I mean,
you're putting $50,000 to $100,000 in. You're saying, hey, I'm making it way nicer.
Yep.
And they generally appreciate it.
Yeah. Anyway,
well, any last words, Jordan? We really appreciate. Obviously, this episode's gone longer than normal, and I'm glad that it did, man. Because you only come into town so often. Where can people get a hold of you? And
I think Instagram's probably the best place to find me.
Okay.
If you Google me, you'll find anything but at Jordan_Moorhead on Instagram. Probably the best place to find me. I think the last words is just get started. And like Tim was saying, like if you have to buy that turnkey property to get started, just get started. Get started in a way where you can save money versus your housing costs. Long term, you're going to be so happy. But if you buy one a year, and I know we've talked about all these different strategies and all these different things, but if you just buy one a year for a few years, instant millionaire in 30 years. And you're not going to have... It
won't take 30, but yeah.
Well, exactly. Yeah. It won't take 30.
Probably times 5.
Yeah.
But if you buy a couple, you'll be a millionaire and you'll be in good shape, provided Social Security might not be around. You might not have all these extra things. Let's say the inflation goes nuts. Let's say AI takes a bunch of jobs. Why would you not want a little extra money coming in from duplexes that turn into so much more equity in the future? Just a no-brainer. But yeah, get started now. Get started early as you can, and do as many as you can as fast as you can in the right way, of course. I think you'll be happy.
And that's a great way to end it. Thanks, brother. We really appreciate you doing this today.
Thanks for having me.
All right. So that was a great episode. Today I just came from 607 Dayton at my triplex. And of course I told Liz Sibet, who Pure Maintenance is doing all my turns now. Yeah. By the way, they really do a fantastic job. And anytime you say something like this, I'm like, oh, these tenants are the best. It's going to be the easiest thing in the world.
The turn, you mean?
The turn. Yeah. And oh my God, it's like they tried to paint, but they used the wrong sheen of paint.
The tenants did?
The tenants did. Yeah. So there's like eggshell against glossy paint everywhere. And you can imagine how much paint that is in this unit, like how many square feet of drywall we're talking right now.
Yeah. And it's a very light unit for those of you who haven't seen it before, which means that it's going to show up more. If it,
right.
Because of the way the light just floods that unit.
Yeah, good point. And of course, who I have moving in is like, a 62-year-old wealthier divorcee woman who, she's going to make it known if she doesn't like how the unit looks. Let's just put it that way. So, and it's like these people left like dog food. I mean, it's really not that big of a deal, but they left like dog food in the kitchen sink. There no attempt was made to make this place look decent for me. And it's just, it sucks because I'm like, dude, I went very, very above and beyond with these tenants. Like, and that's what you have to do with a certain tenant class. Like, especially like, I shower people with love for the first like month that they move in. Like, oh, you want this done? You want that adjusted? I got you. Like, let's get this relationship off on the right foot. And it sucks when people burn you like that. But yeah, what do you got going on?
real estate wise, I'm in a little bit of a holding pattern right now. We're trying to find a new tenant for that Beaumont property, the 10-bedroom duplex. It's full now, but we've already gotten notice that the tenant's moving out, and it seems to take a while to rent those. And then I guess on another side, I am helping my aunt. She has a place in Oakdale, and so I helped her fill the place. And one thing I'll tell you is we had a lot of demand for 2-bedroom townhome in Oakdale at $2,040 a month. We could barely keep people away from it. It rented in the first few days of being on the market.
Is that why your wife texted me yesterday asking if I had any 2-bedroom units?
Because she has someone. She had a third. So we had 2 people apply and a third who wanted to apply, and so she was just trying to help people out. See if you had anything.
That's what I figured.
Because they were considering as far away as St. Paul, so she thought, well, you have nice places in St. Paul. Maybe you have some. Yeah. Yeah.
No, I sent her a couple options. Well, that's cool. We need to schedule. So if you're listening to this episode the day it comes out, which 50% of you do statistically, we have a meetup coming up next week because it's the first Tuesday. And
I was actually thinking
Or do you not want to do one?
Just cancel it. Yeah, the last one went over really well, and we don't have anything meaningful to do. So I think why make it up, right? You know what I mean? Like let's do something impactful the following month. And I really liked. I'm not saying we're going to do it often, but I think we need to more frequently do those social hours.
Definitely,
whether it be 3 or 4 times a year, something like that. I certainly like middle of the winter and middle of the summer at the very least. And then let's come up with some good programming for what would it be? September.
The first Tuesday in September.
It might
let us know.
It might be Todd Dexheimer. He has expressed interest
in hosting a meetup.
And
Oh, sweet.
He's a guest coming up, folks. We've got maybe 4 to 6 guests right now that are scheduled out, and he's one of them. Yeah.
Okay.
Shout out to Glenn Williams. Many people who listen to this probably know him. He's going to be a future guest as well. I just confirmed him yesterday. He's one of the most prolific flippers in the Twin Cities, and certainly one of the most long-lasting ones too. I mean, he's really made it an art. And you'll find this out in the podcast, but he's helping other flippers now. He started out with a coaching program and then decided that he was just going to take over a flip. So basically you can hire him and his team to do your flip for you. He gives you a price and a deadline. He's like, and we're consistent, So his sale point is you'll know exactly what you're getting, how much you're going to have to pay, and how long it's going to take.
Wait, when you say you hire him to do the flip for me, am I just investing in his flip, or do I own a home?
It's